Hello, welcome to Samii Reporting. I am Samii. Happy New Year. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for supporting me in this podcast series. Um, like you know already, if you're a returning listener or if you are new to this program is specifically focused on promoting an African intellectual property jurisprudence. Um, if you want to really understand what I mean, please um, go back and listen to our first two episodes of this series. Now, before we went on break, the Christmas break, I was talking about the topic African creative spaces and interventionists. Interventionists. Organizations, both private and non-governmental and public, who actually assist, invest technical support, money, and other resources in assisting the creative industries, the cultural creative industries in Africa. In previous episode, I mentioned organizations like WIPO, the World Intellectual Property Organization, the European Union, the World Trade Organizations, and a whole lot of others. Now, in this part two, which is the final part of this particular topic, I'm going to zero on the role of collecting societies, how the interventionist funds, assistance, and resources can make deeper, tangible outcomes in the creative industry, the cultural creative industries of Africa. So, the problem I'm trying to highlight and probably make suggestions and call on focus today is the issue of constant dispute in management of the resources that accrues to these collecting societies. Collecting societies are a body of creators who privately organize themselves to collect money, to also support members of their group. For example, in the musical works genre, you have people who come together, aggregate themselves in the form of either a registered organization or association with members who become, who actually either by payment of fees or by any other means become registered with those organizations. And the purpose is to, because see, when you create in when you create a work, for example, music, the distribution of your music, the reproduction of your music might be very difficult for you to manage as a private person. So you need the capacity of a group that will help you. So let me use the music industry. Your music is going to be streamed in the digital spaces, on the internet, in hotels, in restaurants. Your music could even be performed in auditoriums, both private and public spaces where money, commercial places where people entertain others, their clients. Now, copyright laws, intellectual property laws, grants you the right to benefit from either the performance or the display or the use of such music. In if your music is played on, you know, broadcasting organizations, on radio, on TV, copyright law grants you that benefit of maximizing um, your creation, monetize your creation. So one of the essential duties of a collecting society is to help their members, collect the royalties, the monies, the economic benefit that comes as a result of the use of their works. Although there are other things the collecting society they do, the welfare issues, probably taking care of your members when they are sick, taking care of insurance issues, and also being a pressure group representing their interests with governments, organizations, private and public. But the point I'm drilling at today is the constant dispute in managing these royalties. In Nigeria, for example, there's been long-standing issue between the Musical Copyright Society of Nigeria, MCSN, and the Copyright Society of Nigeria, COSAN. Although the Nigerian Copyright Commission has intervened, for now, in quote, using their powers under the law of Nigeria, because the copyright law of Nigeria gives the Copyright Commission in Nigeria, it's the only body that can appoint a collecting society, or what we now call Copyright Management Organization, CMOs. And in the wisdom of the Nigerian Copyright Commission, they've decided that only one collecting society will represent a particular creative work. That is, in musical works or music, only one copyright management organization or collecting society is appointed by the Nigerian Copyright Commission. And for now, the Copyright Commission has decided to appoint the Nigerian and Musical Copyright Society of Nigeria. So that's what it is for now. However, prior to this intervention by the NCC, Nigerian Copyright Commission, there was a lot of dispute. Now, in the management of the money and the proprietary of who is supposed to collect royalties on behalf of musical creators. And again, recently in Kenya, we we have a report of where the Kenyan musical societies are also having issues, disputes. Their case is in court currently, as reported by um, the Nairobi News. The dispute is also about money. I won't go into details. I'll probably post the link in this podcast. At the end of the podcast, I'll post the link, and it's all about dispute of how to manage the monies, the royalties collected by two separate organizations in Kenya. Now, how do we solve this problem? Because you know it when these CMOs, these collecting societies, spend most of their energy and time fighting about money, who is entitled to collect what? Especially, there's a lot of money going on now. There's a lot of money coming into uh, the creative cultural industries in Africa, and they lose focus of the primary functions or the primary duties of a creator. A creator's primary business is to create music, movies, perform, give us art, and distribute them and benefit from its outcome, make money, and also allow society to benefit from its educational interest or its social interest or even its health content because music, we know, heals the soul. We also know that watching movies also has some mental sobriety for a lot of people. So now we are not talking medicine here now. So let's focus on law, intellectual property law. So now it becomes more intense in the digital era because unlike before, where the distribution medium was a little bit organized or was not as wide and broad as it is now. Movies were shown in theaters or in physical spaces. Now, movies are shown, are distributed on digital platforms. We have streaming, we have the internet, we have digital. In fact, we can watch movies, we can listen to music on our wristwatches these days, on our mobile devices. So now, you see, there would be a lot of money coming because of these distributive channels. So you see that if we don't organize these CMOs properly, and if we don't educate them properly, we will lose focus and we will deprive ourselves of the benefits that has been pumped, the financial benefit that has been pumped by a lot of the positive interventionists to enlarge or enhance our creative capacities. So I have a kind of observation that apart from a proper and intelligent government oversight, um, not taking over, not micromanaging, but allowing these people, these creators themselves, to run their businesses as private rights owners, government also should encourage the establishment of educational institutions that will actually educate these CMOs, both in Kenya, in Nigeria, in Uganda, in Ethiopia, in Egypt, so that they actually understand that we can also depend on technology. I mean, we could create um, a technological way of capturing how royalties are used, how royalties are derived. For instance, I mean, I'm going to use Nigeria or even Kenya now. If an artist creates music or a movie in Nairobi, I mean, you might not be able to know how your that music, how many times they are used or consumed or played in a hotel, maybe 500 miles from where you reside. So, I mean, the interventionists too, who are also putting money down, could also look for a means where they could invest in a technological means where instead of so much emphasis of these copyright management organizations or collecting societies um, focusing on appointing people who would be there running the business of the CMOs, so that probably they could manage the $1 million who are coming in every day. Why don't we look for a way where, in the age of AI, we'll have less contact of humans collecting these monies or managing this money? I mean, I read somewhere where an app, I don't know how effective, how operational that app is, where it can capture and monitor how music is used outside the primary place of production. So yeah, I'm thinking if we reduce the emphasis of the human managers, we don't need so many people to be officers of uh, collecting society. And traditionally too, as Africans, we are used to um, adopting ADRs, and before now, I mentioned in my earlier episodes how indigenous peoples or how our cultural institutions like the Ekwe, the Eyo I mentioned about, um, were managed. They had their own system, the traditional system where when there are disputes, they settle those disputes, what I would term traditional alternative dispute resolution. I don't see why we are spending so much time in the court, in the law courts, like the case of Nigeria, the COSAN and MCN now, Kenya, they are spending so much money with lawyers and wasting their time just because of dispute of money. Yes, there's always going to be dispute when human beings are concerned, when money is concerned. I'm not saying here that we would eradicate dispute, but the problem is at this stage of our development of a cultural creative industry, when we spend so much time on focusing on how to manage the proceeds from our talent, from our creative talent, it gives an impression that the purpose of creativity is not just about the innate love you have for your talent. Yes, one has to benefit from his creative works, but also when it's about the politics of a group of people fighting over the money that comes from other people's ingenuity, it now makes me feel that here we go again. It's all about the interests of a few rather than the interests of the larger group. So, like I said in episode 2, that it is the creator that is important in the pyramid of creativity. It is the man who actually makes the song. It is the woman who actually acts in the movie. It is the man and the woman who is actually dancing, who actually writes the literary work, who actually writes the poem, who actually does the sculpting. It is the person who does the act that should be the primary line, the first line of economic benefit should be focused on the actual creator. So when money comes from the top, it should actually trickle down to the creator first, not middlemen, because these CMOs, the collecting society managers, executives, or whatever name they have, are also middlemen. So let us shift our focus to the creators. Because if the creators benefit, then one of the critical objectives of intellectual property, which is to reward the creator, the inventor, will be achieved. And for Africa, IP should be our oil, it should be our gas, it should be our gold and our natural resources. It should be our focus, and the management of this God's given talent is vitally important. So, with that, I come to the end of this episode today. I thank you for listening. Next episode, we shall be focusing on another area of the African intellectual property jurisprudence. Thank you for listening. I am eternally grateful. I am Samuel. Thank you.